Hi, my name is Timoteo Cortez. I'm a writer-director here in Houston, and this is take two.
Welcome to Take Two, our little series where we talk to local Houston filmmakers and such. We go around Houston, enjoy the local cuisine. Hopefully, this audio isn't ruined by the cars. But thank you so much for joining me, man.
Of course, thank you so much
Uh,
for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
I am very fortunate to have met you.
Yeah.
At the Houston Latino Film Festival.
Same.
I don't know. It's like the stars aligned. I got drunk enough to be able to come up to the little circle you guys are having and introduce myself. And I'm glad because having your film at Create was a pleasure and an honor, of course. Thank you so much.
Yes, likewise as well.
And Proverbs is incredibly interesting. You see a lot of movies that approach the whole religious aspect of horror, and I think yours took it a different way that I haven't personally really seen, because it's very much, I don't know, there's a certain culture behind it, I feel, and I want to explore that a little bit.
Yeah.
Where did that inspiration for Proverbs come from?
I grew up Christian. Of course, now I'm not really as religious. And with my personal experiences from going to churches and being being a Mexican, and also learning history, I kind of started to gain a different view of what religion really was. For me, everybody else can believe what they want, but for me, it just felt more. It felt just like false words every time I was hearing it, and being bullied as a kid and then being bullied at church is like, kind of weird when you're kind of just facing the same type of hypocrisy with the way that the world is right now, and with politics and religion and stuff kind of starting coming hand in hand. It really started to show its true form for me, and it just felt more like a tool. Like it just felt more like it just felt phony. It felt fake. It felt like something that was in a way used to control others. And that's kind of like what really brought it out of me, what inspired me, because I've always had like these passions of religion. It's just the why, why do we keep following this when there are still people out there that are kind of using it in a way that's hypocritical to what the original texts are saying. I feel like even more so since we're in the South as well. It's like everywhere you see it. You go down the street, there's like 5 churches. And it just feels, like competition in a way. You got these big mega churches that are just being built. For what reason? We already have like 1 million in Houston alone. Why is there a need for, to tear down property that could be used for something else but to then, build an extension of a mega church already, it's kind of, it's always felt weird, and just, I never felt in place with it. And being Mexican, I think you can understand as well, just kind of like having this weird connection with, Christianity or Catholicism, and, how it was brought over here and how it was forced upon, how we were forced to assimilate as time went and progressed, and then adding the mix of, Anglo-Christian, or white Anglo-Saxon, Protestant Catholicism and all that just, kind of really adds to the mix. So for me, Proverbs felt like a way to kind of bring it up and start the conversation. I tried my best to maintain a fine line with like, okay, this is the message I'm trying to get across, but I'm also not trying to belittle anybody. It's more of like, this is just how it feels. This is a representation of like what it looks like to me, especially since not a lot of us can really have this conversation. And funny enough, just working on Proverbs and hearing so many people coming up to me and sharing their experiences, it proved that like, okay, like I'm saying something right in a way. It just feels more like, okay, I'm actually doing something that's meaningful, and I'm actually starting the conversation, which is what I intended to do in the first place.
It can be a bit challenging to find that balance, I feel, between, I want to tell this story in a meaningful capacity, but also share this certain message. How did you find that balance?
Man, like it was hard because like I had like a lot of Christian guilt coming up, doing what I was doing, I had like, because my whole family is Christian, and some are a little bit more open about it, or like kind of use it in their everyday vocabulary. Like whether the conversation's about something else, they can easily switch it to, something about the Bible, or something about, a disciple, and about God. And it's, I was trying like to find a way to like push the envelope, but not too much to where it loses its message. You know how it can just be, sometimes people are just too radical in what they're trying to talk about. You kind of lose, you kind of, you turn people off from it. Nobody wants to hear you anymore. They'll hear somebody that wants to challenge, but if you're at a point where it's, a little over the top, then nobody's going to want to listen to you. So I was really trying to find a way to bring it up, to try and like make it as subtle as I can, get other people's opinions as well. Majority of the people that I surround myself typically vary with religious beliefs. There are some that are kind of like me. There are some that are very like headstrong atheists, and some that are very headstrong religious. I tried sending it out to as many people that even had those religious views, and try and speak to them to be like, hey, like this is where I'm trying to come from. Is this understood in this? And majority of the time it was like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. I understand what you're trying to say. Especially, asking Christians that are people of color, being in the South, it's everywhere. Everyone's here, and being able to ask all types of people while in the writing process was a big plus. I did call in favors. I got lucky because like I have like a really close friend group that we're all working professionals in different departments. So, and since we're all good friends and we wanted to like do a project together, I was like, hey guys, I have some money, I have a script, I have a date that I want to get this done. Like, let's make something with this, get together. I'm not going to be able to like pay you guys, but I'm going to feed you. I'm going to like take care of you. We're not going to do anything outrageous. Everybody was down for it. Everybody pushed the project. It was like a passion project for everybody. As far as crew, yeah, I got lucky. I had like had a great camera team. I had a great G&E team. I had an amazing DP. I had a great sound mixer, and so I'm just, and makeup artists as well, talent from every department. And yeah, I was able to kind of like, pull in the local generation of filmmakers, younger generation of filmmakers, to kind of like put our heads together, especially with the actors too, with the talent, with Byron, head out of the Braden, solid guys. They were amazing. So it was a tough ask because I was like, hey, this is like 3 days out of your, busy weeks and whatnot. But it was never like, no hard feelings if they couldn't do it, if they had to pick up a gig or something, which it was February. So it was the dry season. So I like luckily had time to be able to like get this done. I still felt crazy though. I felt like, man, I feel like a radical person, like just making this. I was like so nervous to show my parents, so nervous to like talk about it to my family, because they'd be like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm making a short film. They're like, oh, what's it called? I was Proverbs. And then immediately people think, oh, it's, a religious film. And already, hey, you got my vote of approval for it. I appreciate that. And then as I get in depth about what it's really about, or I try to avoid getting in depth with it, I'd be like, yeah, for sure. And then just kind of move on. I still feel like that, but yeah, dude, it's kind of hard finding that balance. It really helps in the beginning though.
Is this your first film, or have you had other?
I want to say, like, so I did a little thing last year, but I don't want to count that because I didn't complete it. It's not completed. So I wouldn't say it was my first. I feel like this is my first short film where I did everything and followed it through, and like actually got people to really see it for what it was meant to be. So technically second, but this is my first.
So how has your relationship changed with film before and after like making this thing to its full completion?
A lot. It gave me a lot more confidence, and it gave me a lot more understanding of where I'm at, because in the beginning, before doing the film, it was all like, I want to do something, I want to make something, and kind of being stuck because, only way you're going to make something is if you have a story, you have a script, and that takes time. Not everybody wants to give you their script to direct, so it's up to you to be able to make your own thing. And so I've written other stuff before, and I was trying to go I gotta crowdfund, get grants, I gotta do this, but that takes time. And for this, I was just so impatient that I was like, no, like I'm gonna do it, like I'm gonna make it this year. And so having gone through this whole process of making it and then seeing it for the first time and then hearing it as well for the first time, that was also a big change. That really like gave me confidence, and it actually made me say with clarity and to other people that I am a writer and that I am a director, I am a filmmaker, because I would say it before but with no confidence because I haven't actually like put something out, and this is the one thing that I do. And now I also see myself as an artist now. At first I didn't feel that way, but now I do, and it's exposed my skill level, and it kind of just said, okay man, this is where you are, that's where you're gonna go, you go get there now. And so I don't know if that answered the question. That's just how I feel right. It's just more confidence than anything, more confidence, and then a little bit of an understanding. I still don't understand film, but it's still a little bit of an understanding of like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Hearing other people talk about what they went through while shooting and stuff, I'm like, okay, I get that because I went through that as well. And those shared experiences kind of like helped me too, like, okay, like this is, a badge of honor. This is a label that I can have now. That's what the film did for me. It's kind of like gave me that newfound look and the art form.
That is interesting. Because it feels like the more that we progress as like filmmakers and artists, we kind of become a bit more intimate with it.
Yeah.
It starts off as like a arm's length away, kind of like don't reveal too much about myself, and it sort of takes you on and just makes you start to unravel yourself in order to really, really get to the point of what you're trying to do. That's, I feel, one of the hardest challenges, to allow yourself to be vulnerable enough to really show people, this is me, this is a part of who I am, like it or not, this is it. And how does that make you feel? Is it like terrifying? Is it uncomfortable?
Extremely, man. At first it was like, okay dude, this is your first step, this is you putting, this is you starting the beginning of your reputation. You need to make it count, especially with all the stuff that you've talked these last 5 years of wanting to do this. This is what it all comes down to. And with the subject matter, it was even more vulnerable because, like I was saying, like this is something I felt was like, damn dude, like I feel like a radical just making this. Even just talking about it with my grandparents, I was like, oh man, I don't know. But the beautiful thing about it was that I allowed myself to be vulnerable, and I was accepted, which made me even more confident, which made me even more encouraged, to motivated to continue doing that. And I think had I not given myself that opportunity, I wouldn't have that same feeling now. You don't know unless you say something. You don't know unless you do something. And you can't, the world that's in your head doesn't exist. So you really have to like put yourself out there. And that was hard. I would stay up thinking like, oh, like just creating the fake arguments that I'm gonna have with my family about whatever it is, I made. I'm still not over it. I still feel the same way. I'm waiting for that one person to come up to me and be like, I don't like Proverbs because this, that, and the third, and you're going to hell, or just something. I still have that, but I feel a little bit better, confident. I'm more willing to have the conversation is the other thing as well.
It can be so tiring, I feel. Especially as brown men, as Latinos, we already are faced with the stigma, not being from here, of sometimes speaking Spanish and not one person hears you. I'm first generation. I don't know.
Man, I'm like 7th, 8th, 9th, whatever. My family's been here since before Texas was Texas.
For me, it's a little bit different because I'm the first American citizen, but you guys have been here for so long now. I can't. There's so much history there. There's so much that it just adds on top of already bullshit stuff that's there. Because obviously, with the art, the films, and the stories that we write, we start to push that needle forwards, of changing the conversation from being all illegals are rapists or criminals into, showing who we are. And there's such a tough dichotomy between, as well, being like men and having to deal with such social expectations of being what is expected of a man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, how do you cope with that? How do you manage with
man,
that?
I can't even tell you, man. Like I've had so many moments where I'm like, I don't know everything, but I do have a good basis on, where my family comes from and how my family came to be and how I am the man that I am now. And that's so much, like you said, so much history that plays into that. So many like near misses where I could have not existed just like that. And to cope with it, I just accept it.
Yeah.
I can't change what's in the past, but with understanding the past helps me lead to a better future. And that can be the only thing that I strive for in this world, is to make a better change and to make an actual attempt to say something or to do something. I'm not like the best in the trades or whatever, when it comes to ideas, I try to implement my family real life as much as I can. Like I want to, with future ideas that I have, they are of, Mexican American struggle, or even just like the plight, or just it's something that we don't really hear about too much. Like I was talking to my friend the other day, and like when it comes to how we're portrayed in the media, it just gets so infuriating, because it gets to a point to where you're like, okay, let's just stop and reel it back and really think about how we're trying to put our best foot forward, because what we're doing right now, it's kind of just stagnating, even dropping at certain points.
Yeah.
Our representation sucks sometimes. Even like the chances that we get aren't the greatest, but we have to be happy with it because we got a chance, because at the end of the day, it's to entertain. But for me, I see it as a way to be able to improve the culture. What part of the culture do you want to be on? Do you want to be on the good or the bad side? There's like, I know it's more gray area than that, but at the same time, is everything that we do now is what impacts the, moving forward. And I don't know, I have this feeling of, wanting to actually, say something, make something of substance. I'm not trying to like do some flashy things.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Proverbs is a little like, ooh, a couple of times, but for me, it's still more of like I said, starting the conversation. I don't know, maybe I take it too seriously, but at the end of the day, it's still like, it helps me learn more about myself. It helps me connect with others, which is at the end of the day what art is at its core. It's a community thing. It's a communal medium, and it's something that gives me more purpose, I guess. I feel like I went on a tangent there and maybe didn't answer the question.
It was a good tangent.
As a little bit as as far as like coping, man, like with I really don't know. I can't answer that. I still have, I have never been to a therapist, so I have a lot of thoughts and notions.
Men don't go to therapy. They just make movies. What are we doing?
That is my therapy. Yes. Although we might be, of different generations, as far as, first generation and multi-generational, it's still like the issues are still there. And if you can't acknowledge that it is an issue, or you can't acknowledge that there is something going on, then you're not really looking at the right things. You're not looking at yourself. You're not looking up. You're just looking down. And unfortunately, that's a privilege that we have. Some of us don't. And it's unfortunate, but it's up to us to be able to like pick everybody's heads up. Be like, hey man, like open your eyes a little bit. Let's, and maybe we help those people, maybe we don't. But we can't just allow ourselves to not do something, not be a part of it, you know?
Yeah. There's always a balance. There's always a balance to these
Mm-hmm.
things. Because when you approach, wanting to tell a story, do it in a way that, represents our culture, that represents us positively, but also, it attempts to break down some of the aspects that aren't great,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because there is a lot of racism. There is still a lot of sexism in Mexican culture, which is a shame. It's
yeah,
abhorrent. It's difficult to find that balance of, oh, let me portray this Hispanic man as like a loving, caring father, but also address the aspects that we have often seen. So many of our relatives are like drunks, and it's just a normal thing. There's so many moments in my childhood where, my uncles were just drunk all the time, and it was like, oh, okay, then is that supposed to be who I am? And that fear of falling into those expectations, that you see all the time. And
yeah. I get
yeah.
that fear a lot. I had a lot of that fear growing up, especially when it came to like my dad. Like my dad's not a terrible person. I love my dad. Um, but like growing up, hearing a lot of like, oh, you're just like your dad. You're just like. I was like, no, do not tell me that. Do not tell me that. Like I'm not like him at all. And not that he did anything bad. It was just I don't know. I very much like ingrained as a child that my parents wanted me to be better than them, and to this day I'm still trying to work my way up to that. But to grow up and have those, at least not just with my dad, but my grandparents, my uncles, and seeing how they are now and how they were when I was younger, and being able to see them for who they are, and as an adult as well, because as a child your image of them is so much bigger, it's so much better, and as you get older and you you become more jaded with life and you understand the how hard it is to live and to survive, and see how they are, you have a respect for them. But then there's that one little thing, then you see that there's another little thing, and then you're like, okay, well, you know how can I improve from that? My family has made me, but I'm more than that as well. Kind of like a don't be a product of your environment type of situation, which we all are.
Yeah.
Whether it's conscious or subconscious, we are. But that's always like a difficult thing. It's just having that paternal image and those, you know, masculine instincts. And with the way things are changing now, the way things are being challenged, it's an interesting time. It's an interesting time even though it might seem a little wonky, it's a really tough time, and it's a really good time though to ask questions, to finally kind of like look within the other person and understand them, to empathize. Because a lot of the issues we see now, a lot of the backlash we're getting is because of people's lack of willing to empathize. And so that's, I don't know, it's really hard, man. Like I can't tell you how many times like I've like had friends that I've seen, the people that they have in their family and kind of like how they made them who they are now, and it's a little frustrating. I feel like we can do better. We can do better for our families, and to have that though, and to have that thought, I feel like says a lot. Especially for you. I'm sure that's like something for you that you wanted to like forward with. I'm sure that's something you take seriously.
Oh yeah, it's always in the back of my mind, trying to figure out, what Pink Eye Pictures is, what I want to do with it, breaking out of that same traditional structure that, cinema has existed in since its inception, and try to push it forward. Not have it be an industry that is controlled by white men, and having to get on your knees for them. It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. But we have to accept the challenge, to push the boundaries, to lay a foundation for the future generations.
Yeah.
Just like you know, it was for us, you know,
Mm.
without American Me, without Blood In, Blood Out, without, you know, the Hispanic filmmakers and Latino filmmakers,
Yeah.
you know,
Like,
I wouldn't have, you know, I wouldn't have this opportunity.
oh yeah, Guillermo, fucking Alejandro Iñárritu,
Yeah, all
all
of
these
them.
people. Like, how many Hispanic men or Mexican people in general
Hmm.
do you know from the top of your head that own like a production company that is of a decent size? You know, like,
Hmm.
because the only one I can think of is Rodriguez. He's like the only one that I can think of uh, that actually has one that
Yeah,
makes like large scale productions, and that's it. That's all I can think about. And
yeah.
then we have the three amigos, who
Oh
are
yeah,
like the top of the
Mexican
hierarchy
cinema.
and stuff, and
Yeah,
they've laid those foundations.
they have.
So you know we're able to build upon them and shit.
Yeah.
But it's still so goddamn difficult.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I was looking at one of your questions about like favorite directors, and like it's also been a thought of mine of how much white media I consume.
Yeah,
Like a lot. And I'm like, damn, I kind of like need to
expand. Yeah,
expand, like,
try
because
things.
that's, you know, you hear all these great filmmakers and
Yeah,
you got to watch these, you got to study these people. I'm like, okay, okay. Then I'm like, you know, okay, like, what about Mexican cinema? Okay, cool. I go on Criterion. Oh, there's some Mexican films there. Oh, but they were made by Sergei Eisenstein,
mm,
Luis Buñuel, who's Spanish. And I'm like, well, what about like Mexican?
yeah,
Like, okay, then you got Guillermo del Toro. Then you got one other filmmaker, but yeah, you don't really see too much. And that's also a thing in itself. To not have that accessibility,
mm,
it's kind of like deterring others from having you know, to pay attention to
yeah.
them. So
It's the accessibility and how the algorithm shapes
yeah,
our consumption and the accessibility, because
yeah,
it's all Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max
yep,
or Max,
yeah,
and it's all just kind of leads you towards one type of film.
yeah,
Like, oh, you watched this and you watched it all the way through without breaks or pauses, so we're gonna show you more of that.
yeah,
And it just keeps on doing that. It doesn't really encourage you to venture or experiment.
yeah,
And even for me, like I buy movies regularly. Like I go to a half price books and there's like Criterion collection section. I just get whatever's
yeah.
cheapest.
Go crazy.
Yeah, but it's just almost incredibly difficult to be able to access these films,
Yeah.
and it's such a shame because there's so many. There's so many.
Hmm.
That's why seeing Vergüenza at the Houston Latino Film
Oh
Festival
yeah,
was so
yeah.
impactful. They were awesome. Oh my
Amazing.
god, what a film.
Amazing people to talk to as well.
Oh
You know?
yeah, I gotta. Ugh, I love them.
There's a big film festival that they submitted to, I think, and they got rejected.
Mm.
And I was thinking that film got rejected. That amazes me. I was like, the fact that that film can get
Yeah,
rejected. I was like,
and
that
it's
just,
such
you
yeah.
know,
It's that film that film festivals desperately want. You know,
yeah,
the ones that
yeah.
are like, oh,
It's something we should. It's something we need
yeah,
to be
it
seeing.
is
You know?
important for
Yeah,
sure, and it's from a Mexican point of view.
yeah,
You know, it's not like a Hollywood production that
yeah,
talks about immigration or you know uh, human trafficking issues
yeah,
from a white perspective.
yeah.
It's very much a Mexican film that talks about Mexican issues that
Hmm.
impact people, and in such a way that you don't see these pueblos, you know, in Hollywood. I think that was definitely a push towards like, oh yeah, I can do this too, you
Yeah.
know, in my own unique voice coming from a Mexican American,
Hmm.
and that's incredibly important. Without getting too deep into it, there's also like the massive divide between you know men and women directors as well,
Yeah.
and especially in Mexico because I can't think of a single women director.
Well, the most recent film that I had seen by a Latino director from Mexico was Totem. Have you
Totem?
seen? Yeah, it's Totem. Totem. Uh, it's on Criterion. That's a great film.
Let's do a quick round of questions.
Shoot.
What was the first film that like made you realize, oh shit, film is cool? It can be one or it can be a series.
I'll do a series because it was like an accumulation of things. At first, I wanted to be an actor in high school. I started out really wanting to be an actor. My dad kind of helped shape my my dude bro film view, because we had like a couple Kubrick films. We had quite a bit of Scorsese films. We had quite a bit of like Denzel Washington films. As cringe as it may be, The Godfather was like a big inspiration for for wanting to be an actor, as well as Training Day. Training Day was amazing. That was like also one thing that was like, okay, acting was the thing. For a while, I didn't have that drive of being an actor anymore because I just didn't want to. So I transitioned to filmmaking, but I was still trying to figure out what that meant. When I was starting to go to school for film, I was taking a film philosophy course, and the professor put me on to this short film called La Jetée. And that right there was like it for me. Once I saw that film, I was hooked. Top five would be La Jetée, a short film about killing, The Shining, Stalker, and There Will Be Blood.
That's a solid selection. Holy shit.
The dude bro films, man. Like, God, yeah. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with dude bro films.
I guess not, but still, I'd be like, dang, man. Like, this is the more and more people start making fun of dude bro filmmakers, the more I'd be like, man, that's me, low key.
Yeah, that's why I never give my opinion out in the internet.
Yeah, but yeah, those are.
I know you mentioned some of your favorite directors. Just for the question, which ones are your faves?
Krzysztof Kieslowski, Paul Thomas Anderson, Kubrick, of course. I would say the French filmmaker Chris Marker or Chris Marker. Oh, a butterfly. Chris Marker or Chris Marker. I can't remember how his name is pronounced, but he's the guy that made La Jetée.
What's a pet peeve?
Pet peeve
in film.
Pet peeve of mine is whenever I fucking hate it. And I know it's like a big, beginner's novice mistake sometimes. Whenever a film has the words, "Do you remember when?" or "Remember this?" or "Remember when?" I hate that because it just ruins the story for me. Because I know it's used as a way to get background and get more exposition and stuff. But like there's so many times where I'm into the film, and one character says to the other, "Hey, do you remember when blah 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 blah?" And I'm like, okay, because then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're talking about so and so," and then they'll go on about how that person is important, or it'll be like a memory in between the characters, and it just feels phony, feels fake, flat. I don't like it at all. I try to avoid that as all time, if possible.
That is interesting. I haven't really thought about that one.
That's the one thing that I can name off the top of my head.
Now I gotta go back to all my scripts. I genuinely
dislike. I'm sorry, bro.
Just to wrap up, promote yourself. Tell the people where to find you and what you're doing.
Right now, you can find me at the cafes, working on stuff, at your local theater. I'm developing a project, another short film, which was inspired by La Jetée. I'm trying to do my own version of that, my own twist. And I'm still on the festival run for Proverbs. I'm really banking on trying to get some screenings in the next couple months, so that way I can finally show to the people, and then waiting to get accepted by the Houston Latino Film Festival. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I mean, Proverbs is like my only thing that I got right now. So, but more will be coming. More will be coming by the end of the year.
Where would we be able to?
Right now, I'm promoting a lot of things through Instagram.
Yeah.
But once I finish up with all my projects, they'll be up on the internet, social media, or Vimeo, YouTube. Whenever I finish with my Proverbs run. For right now, you got to stay in touch. Follow me on Instagram, dir.teo, Director Teo, and keep up and follow. I'll follow back. That's kind of all I got going for me right now.
And one final question that we ask everyone.
Yeah.
Why do you create?
Well, I create because I need to. I personally, it's something that I have to do. I can't not do it. Like I can't not be doing something. I can't not be writing. I can't not be, you know, creating. I create because I'm an artist, and as an artist, I have a responsibility for the community to tell the stories that need to be told, and to also like bring the balance to this crazy world that we're living in. To have a positive and be the positive impact Latino culture and American culture, um, and I do it for my family.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I create. I create to, I guess, tell my family's story.
Thank you.
Yeah.